Welcome to the Doc G Show, a radio show cluster. Without further ado, critics have said he has the face for radio and a voice for silent films. Your host, Ben Doc G. Gordon.
And we are on the air. Welcome to Doc G Show. I'm your host, Doc G. With me, as always, the one, the only, Mikey Maximus, the Furnicus.
Say what?
Charette.
Doc G, what is up, sir?
Woo! Mike, tell you, living the dream.
Living the dream.
You know, just trying to push the haters away.
Huh?
You know?
Yeah.
I don't know if I have any haters. I don't think so. Well, I probably
think I
do.
I probably
It's not a lot, you know. They don't feel the need to hate publicly, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, they're doing. They look at me and they're like, hey, he's doing bad enough. I don't need to say anything right now. If he gets, you know. But like,
yeah, I know.
I've been pondering something for the last week.
Since
we talked on the show last week, you know.
Yeah.
Before we came on last week, we talked about something that I think the audience could benefit from as well, you know? So I wanted to bring in the audience to this combo.
Okay.
It's something we've all experienced.
Word.
The situation, it leaves you confused. Sometimes it leaves you aggrieved.
Wow.
It can happen anywhere, Mike. The grocery store, the gym, a comedy club. It could happen at your mailbox, hiking on a trail, anywhere, Mike. I am referring to unsolicited advice. Unsolicited advice. Listeners, you've had it. You're doing something. Maybe you're working on your car. Maybe you're playing a new sport. Maybe you're working on even an email, and somebody comes up and they think they need to tell you how to better do what you're doing. Girl, come on. It's infuriating, Mike.
Yeah.
Now, I experienced unsolicited advice at the golf driving range the other day. Let me explain real quick to the listeners. It was a busy day on the range. So almost every tee was full. So I went to the very end of the right side of the tees, Mike. But since I'm left-handed, that meant my ball was on the mat, the tee mat, and my feet were on the concrete. So there's like an inch of difference, right? There's an inch of difference. My feet are about an inch lower than where my ball is. And I'm doing a nice thing because I leave the next driving tee open beside me, and they're not worried about me swinging into the back of their backswing because I'm going in the opposite direction of them, you know?
Right.
Now, after I hit a couple of balls, out of nowhere, a guy in his golf getup, his visor, and his Callaway golf shirt polo comes over, and he's like, hey man, you know you're supposed to stand over here and you put the ball here.
Word.
And I was like, yeah, I know. I'm just saving space. But he didn't stop, Mike. I'm just saying, if you stand over here, this is where you're supposed to be when you're hitting golf balls. And I was like, I get it. I'm here because there's 20 people over there, and I want to save another spot so somebody can hit. I'm just saying, man, that ends up in a lot of broken head clubs or club heads. And I was like, yeah, I'm good. Now, listeners, you'll never believe this, but I hit the exact same way for the rest of the day. And guess what? Disaster did not strike.
Nope.
All of my club heads stayed completely intact, and I hit the ball completely fine. And that had no reason of saying that. But he decided to tell me that, Mike, for no reason. And you better believe the whole time, the rest of the time I was hitting, I just kept on looking around wherever he was and just being like, what the is that guy's problem? Why? Why did he have to tell me that? That, listeners, is an example of unsolicited advice.
So true.
Mike, I worked in a gym for about 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, gyms are a horrible, horrible place for unsolicited advice.
Yeah.
Horrible. Happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, dudes want to hit on a lady. They think they're going to come in for the unsolicited advice. And you're just like, no, they don't want to talk to you. Do they look like they want to talk to you? They have a sweatshirt on with the hoodie up and headphones in, and you're coming over to them like, hey, hold on, let me tap you on the shoulder there. You see you're doing lat pull downs? Let me tell you what you want to do. No. They don't want to know about the right angle to activate the bullshit muscle that you're talking about, okay? Leave them alone. My rule for other staff members in the gym, Mike, was unless the person is in immediate danger, don't give advice. Don't give it. Unless they're in immediate danger, you're going to avoid people until you are asked, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only way I'll accept unsolicited advice is when it's someone that you know is absolutely amazing at what they do. They are world famous at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And that obviously never happens.
No.
Like, Michael Jordan doesn't go down to his local YMCA and just like, hey, youngster, let me tell you how to shoot that ball. That doesn't happen. You know? I wish it did. It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
It'd be shooting Jays all around Michael Jordan's house, just waiting for him. And then he'd come up to me and he's like, you're 39. What the you doing out here, man? Get a real job.
Yeah, but don't you think my shot needs some work?
You want to help me out? Come on, man. But I can tell you right now, Mike, if I were on the driving range and Tiger Woods came up to me and told me to switch where I was hitting from, and he was like, hey, you might break your your club head there, I'd be like, you're right. I am, Tiger. I'm going to get on the other side. Does this work for you, Mr. Woods? I immediately switch. Does this work? Like, I'd switch to right-handed hitting. I'd just be like, does that work? Is this good? Like, I'm putting a rule down, Mike. If you want to give someone unsolicited advice, you need to be at least in the top 1,000 of whatever you're giving advice on. Unsolicited guitar advice, you have to be top 1,000 guitarist in the world.
Okay.
Top unsolicited comedian advice, top 1,000 comedian in the world.
Doc J, can I ask you a question? I was gonna text you this, but it was kind of long.
Okay.
I gave somebody some unsolicited advice, but I don't know if it was a bad type of advice or a good type of advice. I don't know. Either way, it was unsolicited.
Well,
But
I mean, I was about to say it's
unsolicited,
leaning unsolicited.
Yeah. I was like, hey, can I offer a suggestion? And the comic, and it wasn't anything about his stand-up. It wasn't anything about his stand-up. I was like, you have a lot of stuff in your front pockets when you're on stage. I think you should try to at least put your phone in your back pocket. I actually didn't even tell him what to do with his stuff. And I just said, you have a lot of stuff in your front pockets, and he wears skinny jeans. And I was like, hey, man, I just think it might be distracting.
The bulges are distracting.
Yeah. And that's all. That's really all I said. I don't know is that.
Were you hosting an open mic?
No, I wasn't hosting. No.
Okay. Because if you were hosting, that'd be fine. I feel like that'd be fine.
I've hosted that open mic. Like I've hosted that one.
But you weren't hosting at the time.
That night, no.
That's tough.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like you might have been bordering right there.
Yeah. I was wondering.
You might have been banished right there, Mike. I'm sorry. That hey, and I'm guilty of it too. Every now and then you gotta check yourself, you know? And I'm sure some of the listeners right now are like, Ben, this show could be called Unsolicited Advice with Doc G. Well, let me tell you something. That's not true, listeners. Because you requested the advice when you turned the show on. All right? If you don't want the advice that me and Mike have, turn the show off. Okay? Billions of people have chosen that route over the last 8 years. Literally billions. Okay? So,
that's a fact.
If you want to hear the advice, get ready. Because, Mike, are you ready to fire this show up?
Let's fire up the show, Doc G.
All 3 engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and lift off.
Woo! Mike, we have a fantastic show. We have the one and only Braxton Cook on the show. This man he's a one-man music shop. One-stop music shop, this guy.
One-stop.
He's just phenomenal. On the saxophone, he's helped make songs for Taylor Swift. We're going to talk about that. He's making amazing records himself. And I'm going to ask him about unsolicited advice.
Yeah.
So that's what's going to happen. It's going to happen. But first, we need to start where we start.
Birthday suit.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
Mike, last week was a rough one.
Yeah. It's been a couple weeks of that.
You went 0 for 3.
Oh man, that's the first, I think.
Yeah, which
one
left,
of them.
I think, I don't know. I'm not going all the way back. But it left you 28 out of 51. But the good news is I think you can go 3 for 3 this week.
Let's go.
A big turnaround here.
That's what we need, Doc G. We need a turnaround.
This one is going to be horrifically sad if you don't get it. But here we go. Born on May 29th, 1917, in Brookline, Massachusetts. Our birthday suit wearer was the 35th president of the United States. Sadly, in 1963, he was assassinated in Dallas, Texas. He's remembered for great quotes like, "Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." Name that birthday suit wearer.
John F. Kennedy.
John F. Kennedy is correct. Nice. I was worried there for a little bit.
I always get worried with the presidents.
Yeah, there it is. JFK, man. JFK. Happy birthday to JFK. Yeah. One of the best, you know. I always find that the most amazing thing to me, it's one of those wild things, Mike. He was projected as this, virile, young, vibrant dude.
Yeah.
And then he had all kinds of issues. He had all kinds of health issues that were behind the scenes. Oh. He literally almost died because of his health issues before he was assassinated.
Really?
Yeah. If I'm not wrong, and I think I am correct on this one, I do believe a priest actually gave him his last rites as he was president because they thought he was going to, die before,
wow.
Yeah.
What from? Do you know?
Addison's disease.
Addison's disease.
Disorder there of the old adrenal glands.
Mm.
Yes. Addison's. That was the one. He had some other issues too, aside from that. But everybody just thought he was a picture of health. He always he had these images of him out on yachts and throwing the football and all these things. And not super healthy, But he was the hope. He was the vision of the future.
Yeah.
So, happy birthday to JFK. Would have been 107. 107. I don't know if he would have made it that long, but
yeah.
Regardless, happy birthday, JFK. Mike, you ready to rip some headlines?
Let's rip some headlines, Doc G.
It's now time for Rip from the Headlines.
Woo! Mike, little survey news here. The survey was conducted by Talker Research, aimed to figure out exactly how often Americans treat themselves with occasions called for indulgence.
Every day.
How often do you indulge, Mike? They surveyed 2,000 people throughout the country and found that the average American said, in their words and terms, they had 10 extraordinary days a month.
A month.
Meaning, Mike, 120 extraordinary days a year. Am I wrong, or do these results make you think people are setting the bar too low for extraordinary?
Yeah, way too low.
That's a fact.
I mean, that means every 3 days you're having something that just is crazy awesome. You know? Nah, that's not happening.
Nope.
It's like 4 a month, tops.
Yeah.
And 4 seems a lot, you know? It's like, don't get me wrong, I have good days, Mike. But, like, I'm not coming home being like, let me tell you about my extraordinary day, you know?
Okay.
You tell me extraordinary, I'm expecting something crazy. Like, I'm expecting you to tell me, hey, I met Magic Johnson, and he gave me an all-day tour of L.A. That's extraordinary.
Word.
Like, if you tell me somebody held the door open for you and you had a nice lunch, like, come on. Set the bar higher. That's weak.
Yeah, for sure.
That's weak. I feel like they need to, in that survey, just describe extraordinary a little bit more, you know? Like, I don't think people are getting it, though. Mike, a little headline from iHeartRadio News. Mayor Eric Adams, New York City, he's been urged by council members to revoke Diddy's key to the city.
Yeah, I saw that.
I think that's acceptable, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Or at the very least, change the lock. Right? I mean, come on. In my head, I just picture Diddy with this massive key at the front of the city, like, hey, it worked yesterday. What's going on here?
Massive door.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. It's ceremonial. Who gives a shit? Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Mike, researchers at the online school University of Technology, Sydney, they decided to use 10 criteria to rank the smartest states in the United States.
Say what?
I don't know about you, but I automatically got a sinking feeling in my stomach for Mississippi and West Virginia.
Yeah.
Oh.
Not looking good.
It's like
also Nevada.
It's like the kids you know that aren't going to get picked in basketball. You're like, oh, they are getting picked last. He can't jump more than 3 inches off the ground. There is no way anybody's picking him. But don't worry, Mike. They weren't last.
That's good.
West Virginia was 47th, and Mississippi was 49th.
There we go.
Yeah! Take that, New Mexico. Somehow New Mexico was last. I don't know. Yeah. Now, some of you might be saying, Ben, how can you lecture those states? Well, let me tell you. I'm in Florida, listeners.
Yeah.
And we were ranked 38th out of 50. So, I'm no mathematician, but that basically means we're the best. So, take that, other states. Mike, who do you think is number one? Who do you think hit their number one?
I'm gonna go Delaware.
Massachusetts.
Oh, I should have said Massachusetts.
Always big help with the Harvard and MIT, you know. You know,
colleges.
Harvard. Then New Hampshire, Minnesota, Vermont, Washington, Montana. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Connecticut, North Dakota. I don't know about that. Colorado, Wyoming. I don't know about that. But, you know, anyways, we're 38, so who am I to say? Also, one other thing about that, Mike. That's a school in Australia. Why are those guys ranking our states?
Yeah, I know,
you know?
right? What is it?
Rank your own states.
Yeah.
Do a little data evaluation of Tasmania versus the Northern Territory, okay? You don't need to get us... Is this some kind of plan to get us all fighting against each other? I don't like it.
Yeah.
America. Don't do it. Mike,
Northern Territory, by the way, bottom 3.
For
sure.
Totally. Mike, this one's gone around on the news. You probably saw this. I'm guessing it was everywhere. But Wheel of Fortune, did you see this?
No, I don't think so.
On Wheel of Fortune last week, there was a contestant that thought he would try and guess a 4-worded phrase. The correct answer was, "This is the best." But the contestant guessed, "Right in the butt."
Wait, what?
And he was confident, Mike. He was like, I'm going to go ahead and take a guess. Right in the butt? What? Like, who? When has Wheel of Fortune ever had a phrase like right in the butt? Come on.
Never.
Nope.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and take a guess. Plow and muff? No? All right. Well, that was weird. It's like, Mike, I think this could be a test for job interviews. You know? You're given the phrase, "This is the best," and you have to guess it. And if you guess right in the butt, you're no longer considered for the job, ever.
No.
Unless it's a proctologist assistant. And then they'll be like, "Well, you fit right in here. Let's get in here. Get it done." And, man, you got to watch it. After we get off the air, check it out. And then there's an audible gasp by the crowd. It's oh, what? Right in the butt. Why? It's weird.
It made it on TV too.
Oh yeah, they didn't. You know, hey, Wheel of Fortune lets it roll. They're not cutting shit.
Good for them.
You know. Well, I think we all remember the dildo episode. It actually happened. Mike, news from Nashville. You know Lainey Wilson?
I don't think so.
Yeah, she's pretty famous. She's been blowing up. She's got a lot of songs out there. She's set to open her new Nashville bar, the Bell Bottoms Up Bar, on May 31st. I don't know if you've been looking at the Nashville scene, Mike, but I gotta ask, is there any country music artist that doesn't have a bar in Nashville? Like, I feel like if we give it like 2 months, the city is literally going to be 500 musician bars and a CVS. That's it. Just like, it's insane. Like, everybody has a bar. Morgan Wallen has a bar, and Kenny Chesney has a bar, and Lainey will, like, Jesus, give us something unique, you know? Yeah. Plus, let's be honest, they're all chasing Dolly Parton. Mm-hmm. They don't have their own theme park. Yeah. You got a bar? Lame. Yeah. She's got rides. Yeah. She's got rides, man. Woohoo! A little other music news, Mike. This is an interesting tidbit from Billboard. The band Journey. Band Journey recently celebrated their greatest hits album, spending 805 weeks on the Billboard 200 chart. Wow. 805 weeks. Jeez.
That's impressive.
Can we do a little math and find out how many weeks on the charts it's going to take before everyone in the world has a copy of that album? Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
And then the even crazier part is this album is in more homes than electricity, and yet no one acts like they know a Journey song until 2 a.m. in the morning when Don't Stop Believing comes on in the bar. And everybody's like, oh, yeah. Yeah, all right. Don't stop believing. It's ridiculous, Mike. But 805 weeks.
Yeah, that's wild, man.
Think about that. That's we're almost like, that's 15 years you're talking. 15 years. That's insane.
Yeah.
Crazy. Mike, I've got a headline from the weatherchannel.com.
Uh-oh.
It's not really about weather.
No.
The headline grabbed me. Quote, world's largest tree conquered by climbers for the first time.
Word.
Was that
was that necessary?
Weather Channel.
Yeah, well, I mean, not even weather. Was that necessary for us to do as humans?
I mean, yes, Doc G, it was. Come on.
We put people on the moon. We put people on the top of Mount Everest. People at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, and we still felt the need to climb a tree?
Oh, yeah.
We trying to impress all the 5-year-olds out there? Like, you say, oh, you think that's a tree? Look at that one. Like, also, did we need to put Conquered in the title?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Did the tree climbers have guns climbing? Like, this tree tree may kill me, but it's never taken me alive. We're going to the top. Like, just Conquered. Seems a little unnecessary. I don't know. But regardless, Mike, we did conquer it. So go ahead and, check that off the to-do list of humanity.
Was it one of the redwoods?
I'm guessing. I mean, if it's the tallest tree, that's the general is it's a sequoia. That's General Sherman.
Yeah.
No. This giant redwood, I forget. It's I forget the name, but it's hidden. Its location is hidden because they don't want a lot of foot traffic there.
Yeah.
Mike, I got a headline from Delishabee. Delishabee, quote, scientist explains why diet soda is detrimental to the brain. Mike, if what the scientist is saying is true, Charles Barkley may already have lost 100% brain function.
Is he a fan of Diet Cokes?
Oh, it's insane, Mike.
Yeah.
He has like 10 to 15 a day, he said.
Oh, God.
And I'm guessing that's 20 ounces. I don't know.
Ugh.
I mean, but even if it's 12 ounces, that's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah.
That is a lot. And he, they've been doing hijinks on the NBA playoffs coverage. At one point in time, I want to say Shaq and Kenny replace, because when he's drinking on set, he's not drinking water. He's drinking Diet Coke. And Kenny and Shaq replaced his Diet Coke with water one day, and he was horribly, horribly disgusted. It was like somebody put urine in there or something. He was like, ow! Ow, what is this? God, it's disgusting. Mike, headline from CNBC. Headline is, quote, I spent 5 years interviewing 233 millionaires. Here are 5 things they never waste money on, end quote. Mike, I'm guessing 1 through 5 on that list are people other than themselves.
Yeah, probably.
Mike, real quick before we go to break, Keith Urban. You know Keith, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
there
I
we
know
go.
Keith Urban.
There it is, everybody.
That one song.
Keith, he had an eyebrow-raising comment about Ariana Grande's new song. So he put out a tweet where he said, this song is audible heroin.
Audible heroin.
Yes.
Word.
Now, of course, Mike, the reason this is eyebrow-raising is because Keith was once addicted to actual heroin. So, I mean, I guess he should know, right? I mean, makes sense, but a little risky.
Yeah.
I heard the wife wasn't a fan. I heard his wife, what's her name?
Nicole Kidman.
There it is.
Boom.
Nicely done, Mike. Nicely done. Yeah, she wasn't a fan, apparently.
No.
In the story that I read, of course, it was from an insider who knew an insider who knew somebody, and they weren't happy about it,
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, apparently Keith Urban is spending his days just strung out on Ariana Grande tunes. So hopefully he gets his act. Hopefully he gets his act together. Mike, we are going to take a break. We are going to hear from our guest today. This is the one. This is the only. Braxton Cook with Don't Wanna See You. And we are back here on the Doc G Show. Spinnaker Radio, WSKRLP 95.5 FM in Jacksonville, Florida. Mike, what do listeners need to do?
Well, Doc G, if the listeners feel like the show is a positive way to waste their time, they should please subscribe to the podcast on Apple or Spotify podcasts or YouTube or SoundCloud or wherever they get their podcasts. It is a cost-effective way to support the show. And if the listeners are feeling extra generous, they should leave us a 5-star review.
Boom.
And yes, and they should tell a friend. Tell a friend about the show.
Tell a friend. But if you effers leave a comment, I swear
No
to
comments.
God, I swear I will get so angry.
We do not promote comments anymore.
Never. Ever. No, not really. Mike, we need to thank the regular listeners, the 5-star listeners. Here we go.
Shoutouts.
Shout out to Jacksonville, Florida, Columbia, South Carolina, Radford, Virginia, Gainesville, Florida, Frankfurt, Germany, Anoka, Minnesota, Ashburn, Virginia, Piracai, Brazil, San Diego, California, Dublin, Ireland, Boardman, Oregon, Genoa, Italy, Richards, Texas, Barcelona, Spain, Winfield, West Virginia, Biloxi, Mississippi, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Peoria, Illinois, Katy, Texas, Toms River, New Jersey, Olive Branch, Mississippi, Asheville, North Carolina, Los Angeles, California, Spartanburg, South Carolina, Athens, Georgia, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Chicago, Illinois, Boynton, Virginia, and Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus, Ohio.
Had 2 ands there. I'm sorry. And I know that's not syntax is not proper. I'm sorry, guys. I'm
It's all
sorry. Regular listeners, we appreciate it. Thank you, one and all.
We do. Thank you.
Mike, 4-star listeners.
Shoutouts.
First off, Toronto, Canada. Big listens this week.
Ayo.
Yeah. Second of all, Manhattan, New York getting the big listens. So shout out to you guys. London, Kentucky. I saw London at first, and then I looked in. I was like, oh, Kentucky. All right. All right.
Nah, Jack.
Hey.
I'm kidding. I love you, Kentucky. I love
Exactly. You want to listen,
Yeah.
Kentucky? We're all for
Yeah.
it.
We are.
Houston, Texas. Shout out. Baxley, Georgia. Shout out. Middletown, Pennsylvania. Shout out. Council Bluffs, Iowa. I think this is Lampa, Peru. Not sure if I'm saying that right, but Lampa, Peru. Boulder, Colorado. Jersey City, New Jersey. Here might be my favorite. Nairobi, Kenya. Shout out to you guys. Ann Arbor, Michigan. Hirosaki, Japan. Gutzenhausen, Germany. Yeah.
Wait, what?
I think I'm saying that right.
Nope.
Gutzenhausen. I'm not
Sounds
sure.
right.
Yeah, you throw it in there, and they're like, that's totally wrong, you turd bag. Mike, thank you to all the listens out there. We do appreciate it. Keep it going.
Thank you.
The YouTube is a snowball that is gaining momentum, guys. Continue to check. If you want to watch basically a condensed version of the podcast, then watch my shorts on YouTube from the day we release the podcast until the next week. You will basically see the condensed version of the podcast. Mm-hmm. And you should subscribe. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Subscribe.
There you go. Mike, it's time. We need to move on to another segment. I sent you a post this week that our friend, former guest of the show, comedian Josh Johnson, he posted. Josh was on the show way back in the day before he blew up. You know, now he's got 500,000 followers on Instagram. Yeah. He's
Killing
doing
it.
giant theater shows. He's on The Daily Show as a correspondent.
Jeez.
But anywho, Josh has a new bit that he's been posting in his stand-up where he talks about 1-star reviews. And I was immediately drawn to this, Mike, because for the last 7 years, we've been looking at 1-star reviews on this very show.
Yep.
Apparently, Josh doesn't regularly listen to our show, or he would know that, and he'd probably have brought it up. He'd be like, hey, I'm getting ready to tell you guys a joke, but real quick, you should listen to the Doc G show. They do this on their show a lot.
I was inspired by their show.
Exactly. But nonetheless, Mike, in honor of Josh, I thought we'd do a little review of stand-up comedy spots in one of the meccas of comedy, New York.
Why would you review that? Did somebody tell him this is a really bad idea for a segment? They did, and he didn't care. All right, it's time for Why Would You Review That?
So here's what I did. I went around to several different comedy spots in New York, Mike, and found some of my favorite one-star reviews. So here we go. First one on the list, Giovanni Peavy for the Comedy Cellar. Giovanni says, quote, "The comedians that I got to see were great. This review isn't an indictment on them. However, Comedy Cellar's staff are rude and disrespectful to their customers. We were kicked out roughly halfway through the show for excessive noise. Yeah, we were laughing at the jokes. We weren't talking. We were grouped with people who were doing some talking, not a crazy amount, but some, and they were not kicked out. It's a shame because the comedians were great and I love to support up-and-comers, but I will never attend a Comedy Cellar event again. Horrible service." Couple things on that, Mike. Mike, you've been in the comedy game for what, about 12 years or so?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a person get kicked out of a club for simply laughing at jokes?
No.
Yeah. I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're full of Giovanni. That has never happened, literally, at any comedy event ever. Second, I'm also going to say up-and-comers usually aren't at the Comedy Cellar.
Nope.
They're pretty established folks. So you're not supporting up-and-comers there. But, you know, whatever. Mike, next one, Louis Sacco, something like that, for the Comedy Cellar. Show was fun, but incredibly rude security staff. They asked people to put phones into plastic bags before entering, which in my opinion is already a big no. And I needed a few seconds to send an urgent text to let people know I couldn't check my phone for the next few hours.
Word.
Security got annoyed at that and pulled me on the side, not letting me in and not giving me any explanation. I had to speak to the manager to explain the situation, and they eventually let me in. But the accident ruined the entire evening. End quote. Mike, I got to tell Lewis, if putting the phones in the bag is a big no, why did you stay at the venue? Second, who are you that you're so important you've got to send out a blanket warning text that you won't be able to check your phone for 2 hours? I could not check my phone for the next 7 days, Mike, and no one would blink an eye. No one would be like, is Ben all right? Who cares? What? I don't know. Why would you care? Like, what? 2 hours? What do you do? Are you a drug dealer? What's going on? Ridiculous.
That's a fact.
Dover Mall is the next person, Mike. Dover Mall.
Dover.
Yeah, Dover is Daver, maybe Daver. I think it might be French. I don't know. Dover Mall. Let's throw that in there. Dover Mall for a New York comedy club. Quote, absolutely awful. This is the weird sentence. 1 star because the beer was cold.
Huh?
What?
I don't know. Then awkward amateur comedians who blame the audience for us not laughing. The host ran out of material after 1 minute and then openly admitted she didn't know where she was going with it. We would have left then. Okay. Maddie Smith is hands down the worst and most awkward stage performance I've ever witnessed. But to be fair, they all were. The 5th performer, I'm sure, was sent out to belittle the audience, and that's what he did. Pointing to the word comedy as if we hadn't realized. We left during his performance. Don't give up your day jobs. I'm confident this is not how you make a living. Very expensive, mostly empty, terrible experience. Went to a similar venue in Vegas and had an amazing night with lots of laughs.
Hey.
So there you go, Mike. Going to your town, having a good... But I got to say, one, Davier, I hate to tell you, comedy is Maddie's day job. Mm-hmm. She's a pretty big deal. She's got like 500,000 followers too, and she headlines shows. So that's her day job. So I hate to tell you that. Also, you know, I don't know about you, but that's to me, Mike. That's like you can't really write a review if you don't like the comedy. You know, you're taking the risk going there. You know,
Yeah.
and if you don't like it, you don't like it. But you knew what you were getting into. Like, I don't get it. Elliot, this is short and sweet, Mike. This is for the Comedy Shop. Quote. Comedy was so awful, it was traumatic.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Traumatic.
Yeah, we know. And I mean, we know that's a little BS, Mike. Because you get to a certain point, and when comedy is so bad, it turns funny again. Like, if it was that bad, it would start to be funny again. But, Mike, we're going to end on this one. This one's so great because the owner comes back at them on this one.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. And it's a pretty harsh comeback. It's pretty great. So this is Walter James for the Comedy Shop. Quote, booked online, and they turned us down at the door because other people paid in cash. Asked for a refund, and the gentleman at the counter told me, I'm not your slave. I just wanted to get my money back for the service I paid for on the website and that they didn't fulfill. Situation turned hostile for no reason. Ridiculous. End quote. Now, here's what the owner had to say. Owner came back, posted on the review. Quote, Walter, this is such a lame review. You arrived 20 minutes after the show started. There were people waiting to buy tickets of no shows at showtime. They bought your tickets. I told you that you didn't even call to say you were running late, and your tickets were refunded, so you have nothing to complain about. It wasn't hostile. You muttered under your breath walking away, and I clarified. Figures you would run home and get on your keyboard. Oh! Oh! Game, set, match, Walter. Oh, my God. Yeah. I wish all of them had comebacks like that, Mike.
Yeah.
I feel like most of them aren't actually looking at the reviews, though.
Probably not.
I
don't know.
Although, I will say, too, along with that, the Comedy Cellar, most of them, the Comedy Cellar, all the one-star reviews, I think it's like a blanket thing. They would respond with, please contact us at, and then they'd have their email. So they probably get the person to email, and then they just never respond. But anyways, Mike, we are going to be right back with none other than Braxton Cook.
The Doc G Show. Because sometimes you need something playing in the background. Every Wednesday at 7 p.m. on 99.5 FM, Spinnaker.
This is 95.5 Spinnaker Radio. WSKR-LP-FM, UNF Jacksonville.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. We are super excited to be welcoming a terrific musician who released his album, Who Are You When No One Is Watching, last year and will be in Orlando, Florida on June 6th. Mr. Braxton Cook. Braxton, how are you?
I'm good. I'm doing well, man. Doing well. I'm excited for the show. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to start off by taking the folks back. Both of your parents were musicians. They weren't professional musicians, but I hear your mom, she played the piano. Your dad at one point played the trumpet.
Sure.
Were they the type of parents that were like, putting instruments in your hand, or did you just naturally gravitate towards them?
Closer to the latter, like I more so gravitated towards that, I want to say. I will be, to be 100% transparent. I think, my mom certainly was more of the musician, and neither pursued it, their career paths. My dad's a law professor. My mom went into, working, she had a government job. Most of the 90s, like most of my childhood, honestly, she was staying at home because I got 3 brothers. So, it's a lot of kids. So it's like, so to be fair, no, I mean, when I say I come from musicians, I mean, I've just come from a musically talented kind of household more so. Not someone that like pursued music in that sense. But anyways, my mom, she played a lot of classical piano and then tried to get me and my brothers to play some piano as well. And I remember, some formal lessons and trying to actually learn to read music, but just not being into it, just wanting to learn how to play by ear and wanting to play the songs I heard on the radio and stuff like that. In hindsight, I wish I did stick with it. I wish I could sight read, like how she can sight read. Like we went to church recently in Mississippi. We went back to Mississippi to celebrate my grandma's 90th birthday.
Woo!
We go to church.
Shout out.
All right. Shout out to grandma. And we go to church on Sunday. My mom's up there just sight reading hymns and stuff. And I'm like, that's so fire that she can do that, And it's like, I've studied music and still can't really do that. I'm mad slow. But anyways, I'd say always been around. Piano was something that I actually tried to study, but eventually just kind of like got distracted with like sports and school and video games and other things like that. And it wasn't until like this one day my mom rented my dad a saxophone. And he had never played saxophone because he had played trumpet back in high school, but he wanted to learn sax. And he was practicing in the basement. I remember going downstairs to like go see like what I was hearing. I heard this reverberating throughout the whole house. What is this? And he let me try the horn. He grabs his instrument and he's like, hey, you can just put your mouth to the mouthpiece and the reed and just blow, and I'll move the keys. And I remember getting like a decent sound, like, not squeaking essentially, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the sound out of the horn. And like, I was maybe 5 or 6 years old. And then I just, watched him practice for maybe another 30 minutes, an hour. I remember he was learning these contemporary kind of like R&B songs of the 80s. And I don't know, I Will Always Love You or something like that. He was learning like those kind of songs. So I remember hearing them on the radio, so I recognized it. And I just watched him practice for a bit. And then eventually just went back to go playing with basketball with my brothers or something. But I always say like that planted the seed, it was like, the inception moment. It was like, okay, I like this thing. I'm kind of might naturally be good at this. I don't know. And
put that away for a little bit.
Put that away for a bit. Exactly. 5-6 years later, I go, I learned recorder in 4th and 5th grade, and then sign up for band class. We get to select what instruments we want to play. Sign up for saxophone.
Nice.
Alto saxophone. And that was like the beginning of like, oh yeah, that's right. This is that thing that I did years ago. I get this. And I'm like, and every other kid just learning hot cross buns and trying to figure out how to play the saxophone, basic little nursery rhymes on the horn,
Do they have any because I know like I wanted to play drums in middle school. And when I went to play drums, our band director made me do like a little, she did some patterns on the table and she'd be like, can you do that? Can you do this? And luckily we had almost like nobody in the band. So I got to be drummer, even though I was horrible. Though every single pattern, she was like, no, that wasn't it. That wasn't it. But like, do they do anything for that for sax, or did you just get to say, hey, I want to play sax? And they said, cool.
There was a point. I don't know if it was so much like, a test to see like a student's acumen. It wasn't so much that, but it was certainly an availability thing. There were only so many saxophones in the band room and in the closet. You know what I'm saying? And so many trumpets. So I remember all the guys, it's so wild how some of the, playing a certain instrument seemed to be like, oh, all the cool kids wanted to play trumpet, drums, and, and then saxophone. So I remember those those spots filling up really quick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think I might have even signed up for trumpet first too, actually, now I think about it, but they didn't have any. They ran out. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get saxophone. That's what I wanted to play anyways.
It worked out.
It worked out. So it was more so that.
Yeah.
Certain instruments and slots filled up, and then you kind of were stuck with what was left. But I wanted to. I think I deep down wanted to play the sax, so that it really was meant to be.
Well, before, I mean, you mentioned the seed of playing, and I heard, you talk about your dad's music collection. He was, is big Motown and soul and gospel, and that you heard that stuff before you sort of heard jazz.
Mm-hmm.
What songs, artists stick out to you in that time?
A lot of Earth, Wind and Fire. Unless like the horn sections, a lot of those parts, I just remembered knowing all those horn parts, but more than I knew the lyrics, to be fair. You know what I mean? I was like, yo, that Shining Star intro is crazy, or whatever it is. After the love is gone, sax solo and stuff like that. I would just remember those. I would just remember those horn parts. I don't know why. It's a young kid,
Yeah.
I'd be in the car, singing along to that. Grover Washington, just the two of us. Remember the sax part. I was like, man, I love that. They stuck with me.
Well, it went from jazz. I heard you talk about how Grover Washington Jr.'s saxophone parts, and then like the first jazz artist was Cannonball Adderley.
Yeah. This is like right when our parents, I guess, let us get on the internet, and like we had access to the computer upstairs. I remembered, like I think Wikipedia and YouTube becoming more of a thing around 05, 06, and I was like going on the computer to look up, I guess, who Grover Washington was. I know because like I said, my dad had a collection of all these records, but more so CDs actually. Like this. Maybe 1,000, a bunch of CDs, yo. So I'm going through this boxes of CDs when we were moving, and I found a bunch of Grover Washington records, some Kitty G records, some just like, you know what I'm saying, some of the more contemporary guys, Gerald Albright. He'd always be listening to Gerald Albright in the car, and my barbershop would always be playing that, that kind of music. And eventually I started researching it, so I get on Wikipedia, start going down the rabbit hole, and I'm seeing like, Cannonball Adderley is one of Grover's early influences. So I'm like, Cannonball Adderley guy. And then this is messed up. I should be promoting piracy. But then like we had LimeWire at the time, So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go download some Cannonball stuff. So I just typed in his name, and the first thing that came up was like Mercy, Mercy Me, or Mercy, Mercy, excuse me. I'm mixing him up in yeah, my bad. So anyways, Mercy, Mercy, Mercy is one of the first songs I found on LimeWire under Cannonball's name. And then Sticks was another one. And it's all from that record in Chicago, that I think the live record that I've now since found out through research that wasn't actually a live record, but they just kind of overdubbed some live.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved the energy of that recording, and it felt that was a good entry point for me, considering that I grew up going to Baptist church, and gospel music is always something I heard in the house, and R&B and soul. So I think it's like a soul jazz record. You know what I mean? My introduction wasn't like an avant-garde jazz album. You know what I'm saying? It was like Cannonball playing the blues kind of thing, with people like clapping, and it felt like church. So with an extended saxophone solo. So it was something familiar. Also, I noticed, Cannonball's records, like there was like a high fidelity kind of thing too. Like the mix of it also sounded pretty, well mastered and really like familiar for my ear for a kid in the thousands. You know what I'm saying? That's some of it too. Because I think before, my parents had tried to play me some more like old school, like live jazz records, and it's like it's hard for your, when you're not used to that. You're used to like high process kind of, food to eat some natural kind of and take in some natural kind of music. Yeah. So Cannonball was it was just the perfect kind of segue, I think, from Grover. And then through Cannonball, then I start checking out Cannonball Adderley's music and reading his Wikipedia. And then I find Bird, and that's when it was over. Once I found, I was like, I got into Charlie Parker, I think, early, like late middle school. So like I'm 12, maybe, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, who is this cat? What is going on here? And I just started trying to find transcriptions and learn his solos and that's really the beginning of that. And I didn't really have a teacher at that point. I'm really just kind of trying to figure this out by ear. But I was being obsessed with Charlie Parker, like right at middle school. And
Now,
go ahead.
I will say, going back to the LimeWire, it's funny because you were talking about, downloading those songs.
Yeah,
and like the biggest thing about downloading those songs that I noticed, and I've always thought about since then, is how like half the time they were wrong. Like
Yes,
I'm surprised that it actually was properly named Cannonball. Like, because half the time you'd get it and you'd be like, oh, Charlie Parker made this song. This is awesome. And then like somebody's like, no, that's not Charlie Parker. And you're like,
Bro,
it's not?
many of them were wrong. You're right. And I think that's part of why, I almost associate the two with Wikipedia, because I was like, I have to figure out who's playing on this. And I think the names were wrong a lot of the time. You're totally right. That's a lot of it. We'd download something, listen to it and be like, I don't think that's right. And, and try and do the math and try and figure it out, figure out where this was. And you're so right. I remember downloading a Blue Bossa recording that to this day I thought was like, I don't know, some other horn player, and I'm like, oh no, that's Gary Bartz. You know what I mean? I eventually figured it out, but
I mean, I will say that's one of the things. Like, obviously, all the business things is extremely important for not having network sharing like that. But like, that's one of the big things to me with those that like so frustrating, because people would like make these burn CDs and they'd be like, this person. I'm like, none of those are right. That's not who it is. Like
all wrong. So true. That is so true. So we took it upon ourselves certainly to do some homework and try and figure out who's really on these recordings and stuff like that.
Well, you said you didn't have a teacher. You got a good teacher in ninth grade, Paul Carr.
First Morgan Russell, and then Paul Carr. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and you learned a lot about jazz from Paul. What would you say? Some of the biggest lessons you got from Paul were?
Was honestly embracing my ear and really trying to hone that. We started. So my first few lessons started with just playing along to Aebersols without him telling me what we're playing to. And just trying to hear the changes and listening for the bass and listening for, and learning 2/5s. And then eventually, he gave me a Cannonball Adderley solo that I needed to learn. He was like, don't come back to learn this kind of, it took me a couple weeks to learn Minority. It was this solo over this Gigi Greitz tune, Minority. And I think the album was called Portrait of Cannonball. I think it featured Blue Mitchell on that album as well. But yeah, anyways, it was just like every line Cannonball plays are just so fire. It's so clear, and it's a good tune because there's just a lot of 2/5 in there. So I remember him really just focusing, for me at least, on transcriptions and using my ear and learning solos. Like even if I do write it down, like having it memorized completely by ear first, and then eventually, writing the solo out and figuring that piece of music and figuring that out, but. That was his main thing, man. Play by ear, learn 2/5s, and like transcribe as much as you possibly can, like learning any other language and just copying cats. And for me, we stuck with Cannonball. We just did a lot of Cannonball solos, and I learned a lot of his discography. And then, I'd learn solos, and then I also would just go online and start scouring the internet for other people's transcriptions and just read through them and play along to records and stuff like that. And I'd either go buy CDs when I could. Also, he would lend me CDs and be like, bro, take this home, listen to it or burn it, make your own copy, whatever. And then sometimes I'd be on Deezer and I'd be trying to find free, where I could get a minute or 30-second clips where I could listen for free and play along to it. And I was just, obsessed at that point, trying to get as much Cannonball as I possibly could. But transcription was the main thing, and it still really is.
Yeah.
That is the key to getting better at anything. Even in my music production stuff these days, I'm like, you want to figure out how to make a record that sounds like voodoo. It's like you got to listen to what Quest is doing. It's the snares and like the vocal production that D'Angelo's on, and like really analyze his panning, really analyze the doubling and like the chords and just try and copy it. You know what I'm saying? Make your own versions and listen to them A, B, and see how things sound. It's really a lot of that. It's a lot of matching sounds and learning how to emulate sounds and get to it quickly.
Got to get your hands dirty.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, now, when you were in high school, Wynton Marsalis heard you play at a school assembly when you were a sophomore, and he said he'd be hearing from you in the future. How long did it take?
Yeah, 20. That's my sophomore year, 06, and then 2011 or no, 2012. 2012. Yeah, so about 6 years. About 6 years.
Nice.
It was a wild full circle moment that night, for sure.
I know this shouldn't be the case with a great like Wynton, but for some reason, he's on the documentary Celtics Lakers Best of Enemies documentary on ESPN. And so every time I see him, that's what I think of. I think of that documentary. Like all this great music, and that's what I always think about him. It's crazy.
That is funny. That's just one of those like core memories for you, bro. For me, it's those PBS.
I think of those documentaries too. I definitely think of those.
Yeah, whenever we had a teacher that didn't come to class, and it's like movie day or something, it was one of those. If my band director didn't come to class, or he was out or watching the Wynton Marsalis doc of some sort.
Well, now before you went to Julliard, you went to Georgetown, and you went for English and a concentration in African American studies. Why not music from the beginning?
So they didn't have a performance degree, That's specifically why I didn't major in music at Georgetown. But even before that, I'd done like all county, all state, Grammy band, all this stuff. And then I got into some good music school. I got into New School, Manhattan School of Music, but it truthfully was like a financial kind of conversation that I had with my dad. And he was like, yo, you can take out these loans and do that. Or, he's like, you can go to Georgetown for free. I also got into Howard, had a full ride too, but I think we just kind of had just a heart to heart about I think Georgetown's a great school, man. And like, blah, 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 My older brother was going to Georgetown at the time. So we actually went at the same time. We had 1 year overlap. And then, I grew up, my dad's like, we're Hoyas, bro. You know what I'm saying? We always loved the Georgetown basketball team. Lonzo Mournish, Allen Iverson.
I was about to say.
You know what I mean? That's just always been in the back of my mind, I think, the whole time. And I was a bit disappointed, when I go back to think my mindset at 17, that I wasn't going to do music straight out of school like I thought. And like everyone even around me thought and started and did, you know what I mean? It's like, you're just watching all your like friends. It feel like draft picks or something. I'm like, oh, they're going to the league. And to some degree, I felt like I was, I don't know, playing in the minors or something for another couple of years. But it really, in hindsight, it really wasn't that. Like DC was like, that's what I needed. You know what I'm saying? My years at Georgetown, like I met some of my best friends, like cats that were at my wedding, you know what I'm saying? And also DC just afforded me the ability to play and work in the city, like as a young professional, you know what I'm saying? Like getting my stripes in that sense, like running jam sessions, learning tunes, playing with all the OGs in DC, which were like, turns out we're also still world-class musicians. Like sometimes I don't even realize, like Chris Fun I played bass with, he played bass rather in DC, but I got to play with him a lot. Turns out he was touring with Kenny Garrett all this time. So I'm like, he's coming back from the road with Kenny talking about this, and what songs they're working on and what he's like you know what I mean? You're getting all these stories, cats that play with like Roy Hargrove, same kind of thing. A lot of them were from DC.
Yeah.
Salim on bass, or like Quincy Phillips, you know what I'm saying? So I got to play with these dudes in my scene, and I'd be the horn player on these gigs, and they would just instill so much knowledge from from some of these international gigs, and then I got the opportunity to play where, had I gone to New York at 17, maybe I wouldn't have my own quartet, wouldn't have a club that even wanted to book me, because the levels you know what I mean? Because the competitive level is so much higher. So in a sense, that was another like form of schooling where I got a lot of like performance experience, like super early. I mean, not super early, not like I was 15, but like, as a teenager playing a gig and doing my own thing and getting to play with like musicians way better than me that had the time and energy to like try and help me out. So those 2 years were actually just like crucial, bro. So the time I got to New York, it was like, I felt like, experience.
What spurred the transfer to Julliard? What caused that?
Truthfully, it was like a few of my friends that I knew from Grammy Band, and I knew from some of these national groups I did in high school. So one of them was Joshua Crumbly. Well, at the time, he was touring with Terrence Blanchard. So I used to see him come through DC, and I'd go to Terrence shows and stuff because Josh would put me on the list or something. To see him at like 18, like, killing it with Terrence, it's like, whoa, you're really doing it. But he ended up going to Julliard, and then some more. Pender Hughes was one of his friends, and I got to kind of know of him. Luke Salenza, another guy I did Grammy Band with. Missing somebody. Yeah, those are the main. Maybe Jimmy McBride even too. Yeah, there were a few cats that like I knew from high school. They went on to New York, and a few of them went to Julliard. They ended up giving me a call on my birthday, like my sophomore year at Georgetown, and they're like, they play Happy Birthday on the piano, and they're like, "What up, Brax?" I'm like, "Man, what's up, guys?" They're like, "Bro, you should apply to transfer. Like, just see." I was like, "Really?" They're like, "Just see, just try." So I was like, "All right, I'll put in my application." And I work on the pre-screening and all that stuff throughout the summer. And then I submit November. Or maybe I'm saying that wrong. Maybe they called me my spring semester freshman year. And then I apply, what I'm saying, like November line or whatever. Yeah, the next year. But yeah, everything kind of just worked out. They were right. I was like, I'll try to apply to this school. We'll see what happens. And it's the only school I wanted to apply to transfer to just to see. And also one of the few music schools my parents were actually like, "Yeah, okay, I heard of Julliard. That's cool." You know what I'm saying? We'll see. So I end up, getting past the pre-screening, all that, and have my live audition that goes well. It is as intense as people say. It's like it was crazy. The audition is Ron Carter and the entire faculty. In this
Wow.
U shape, like just when you walk in, you're just like surrounded by like legends. You know what I'm saying?
Everybody.
Oh yeah, it's Kenny Barron. Since the faculty has since changed, if you look at them now, but this is 2011. It was stacked. You know what I'm saying?
I would totally be the lazy faculty. I got to be honest. I probably would not show up for. If you like, we got another audition, I'd be like, nah,
exactly. That's part of their vibe, because you're absolutely right. It's like, why do we need a bass player to adjudicate the saxophonist? You know what I'm saying? But I think that's part of the intimidation factor. They're like, "Nah, we're gonna have everybody."
Oh yeah.
And like, so I'm like, because I totally agree. All they really need is like the saxophone faculty, but whatever. So yeah, so you walk in there and you're just like completely intimidated. You do what you're supposed to do, and then you get the callback list that they put downstairs. You're waiting all day to get that. You finally get the callback list. You're like, "Oh my God, I made it." Okay, auditions at 8 p.m. You're still there all day. Then you go upstairs to go do the callback part, and that's the one where they essentially just try and do things that you
rattle you.
Things that are outside of your scope of expertise, kind of like they're like, "All right, great, you sound good on the saxophone. Now I want to see if you can do ear training and go like this on the piano," and shit like that. Where I was like, "Oh dang!" So yeah, you walk out of the callback feeling like, "Oh yeah, it's over.
I ruined it." Yeah,
I'm out of here. And then you find out it all worked out. So I end up getting in, and not only do I get in, but they have a conversation with my parents and talk about me leaving Georgetown, what that would take, and they completely match my scholarship, cover everything. And I was like, this is maybe meant to be. Had that conversation with my parents, there in support of it, and I was like, let's do it. And I transferred, and in my first year, like I said, September of my first year, I did that concert at Jazz at Lincoln Center, meet Winton. He's being cool. He's like, we had that like heart to heart again and reconnect. And then, I meet Christian Scott shortly after that. It's just kind of like, I had several affirmations that this was like the path I was supposed to be on.
Did you think about when you transferred, was it just you wanted to be around music, or was it like, I want to be an artist? I know I want to be like, I want to have my own albums come out.
Yeah, I think I always knew that. Yeah. I think I always did. I think the cats I loved Miles. I always loved Kenny Garrett, and not just his playing, but I loved his artistry. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love the fits he used to rock in like the Miles videos. You know what I'm saying? I was like, it was like I always had an idea of like, what I wanted to do.
Nice. This question's a little bit off, not off topic, but like, you get to this point. You went to Julliard. You are definitely one of the best players out there on the saxophone. And me and my co-host were talking about this earlier. The idea of like unsolicited advice, where somebody comes up to you, you're doing something, doesn't matter what you're doing. It could be, gardening, and somebody comes up and gives you advice on your garden. I feel like you're at the level of experience and ability that you qualify to actually be able to give unsolicited advice in music. Like, do you ever feel like the need? Do you see a young person like playing saxophone or starting out, and you feel the need to go over and be like, I'm going to give him some advice. I'm going to give him something that could help him out here?
Bro, no, I hate unsolicited advice. I hate that.
Thank you.
I would never do that, because I would not like. I would hate that. I'm still that way. I'm like, I didn't ask for that.
See, that's the thing, is like it all started because that happened to me. I was just out at the driving range hitting some golf balls, and this guy came up to me and started giving me advice about golfing, and I was like, bro, I don't care. I don't need to know this. Like, yeah. And I told my co-host, I was like, like, I'd be fine with that if it's Tiger Woods coming up to me and he's saying something like that. But who is this guy? Is this guy in a visor? Like, and I feel though, like you are at that level that you could, like, people would take it and actually, be like, oh, well, it's coming from Braxton Cook. This is good advice. But you don't give it out. You don't.
No. If you want, if you have a question, sure. And there's some times where I feel like someone has a question and doesn't even know how to ask it, and I'm just like, there's sometimes I've steered, someone in that.
Get them to where they need to be. I say,
but no, I'm not walking up to somebody in a practice room. Oh, excuse me, and I'm just like, you gotta. No, that's crazy. Nah, I'm not doing that. I think we all got a journey, man. I think the only times I've ever felt like that or felt like saying something, I feel like unsolicited, is when someone is just like overly confident in something, and also maybe saying something. Like, let's say they're on IG expressing something, that I maybe disagree with, and I'm just kind of like, no, man, that's not it. That there's that. You know what I'm saying? It's like almost when someone is spreading misinformation, I sometimes will feel like compulsion to say something, but not someone that's just like in their room or whatever, just working something out, trying to do something. I'm like, no, they're trying to figure it out.
That's the same.
It's when like they think they figured something out and are saying something that's just completely false. And I'm like, dang. Then I feel like, wait a second.
That's the equivalent. I was making the equivalency when I worked at a gym for like 11 years, and I would always tell the personal trainers, you do not go up to somebody and correct anything unless they're in immediate danger. That's the only time that you correct it. And I feel like that's the immediate danger. When you see them doing something that's just like completely wrong, and they're like, I figured it out. And you're like, no, you didn't. You didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Before you just like go and affect, like, who knows, hundreds of thousands of people that are just listening to whatever you're saying. I'm like, wait a second, what are you saying? That's it. That's exactly right. There's a bit of urgency there. But aside from that, no, man. Well, it's so much. It's so hard to give advice in this music thing, bro. It's like a lot of it. You gotta it out.
Well, you've got. I mean, you mentioned it. You got a lot of lifelong friends and collaborators that you worked with at Julliard. Chief Adjua, Christian Scott. There, you toured with him. That guy seems like he seems like he just wants to see it and do it all. Like, I watch his Instagram, and it's just, he's doing something different every single day. It's wild. What was it like touring with him?
Bro, yeah, I know what you mean. He's, Christian is a very just intelligent, really smart, capable, like an imaginative, forward-thinking kind of guy, straight up in everything. It's like, it's cool when you you meet cats like that. It's like, yeah, in the trumpet, business wise, fashion, whatever, he's just trying to push the envelope, you know,
Nice.
culturally, politically, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How he lives his life. It's like one of those people, like, yeah, through and through. That's like
We-
it's great. I mean, I guess I can just say you feel inspired being around someone like that.
Well, I mean, other inspiration. You met Jahaan Sweet there at Julliard.
Oh, yeah, literally my roommate, my bro. Like
He was your roommate. Now, I wanted to ask: was it like friendship at first sight, or was it one of those that had to build over time?
Yeah, yes, pretty much like this. I mean, we came in, is me and Enrique and Jahaan. We were all like freshmen, you know what I'm saying? I was the transfer student, so I was 2 years older than them.
Mm-hmm.
They were freshmen, but also we were all like, you know, minorities as well too. Just like, so there's that, you know, among particularly this kind of institution where it feels like, all right, there's a lot of cats that don't look like me or come from where I come from, you know what I'm saying? And then, or listen to what I listen to, that too, you know what I'm saying? We connected on so many levels, like damn near immediately. So it was just like, yo, we're gonna get this together. And there's so much, there's like you've seen I hate to even bring up Whiplash because that movie is like, it's a bit too much, but yeah, there's a generational clash, I'll put it that way, you know what I'm saying? In the jazz world, where it's just like the old school cats, there's a way to do it, and there's a certain way that they, you know, cats will talk to you and all types of things, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That can be hard to adjust to, and I think you need your homies and your friends that like lean on each other to get through some of that when it feels like, okay, this is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were that for each other, you know what I'm saying? And we still good friends. And now they live out here in LA, and we're all out here. I'm about to go get lunch with Enrique in a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
Jahaan is originally from Jacksonville. Shout out.
Exactly, yo. Duval.
Nice. Well, now, thanks to Jahaan, you have production credits on Taylor Swift's song "Lavender Haze."
Yeah.
Now, how did you find out? Because I heard like he's a bit of an alchemist when it comes to like you guys got a group chat. He'll just tell you, like, ask you to throw things in, and like, how did you find out you were going to be on this Taylor Swift song?
I sent him a voice memo idea because I think sometimes he'll just write like a certain vibe that he's looking for in the group. And he's like, y'all got any like kind of pop leaning like ideas? And I sent him this voice memo in like 2018 or something, 2019, years ago, that he then, you know, flipped, put on this 4 on the floor beat and this like, you know, maybe tremolo or something. So, you know, added a little like pumping kind of pop action like vibe. I'm saying it was like not our typical kind of R&B hip hop thing that we always do. But so yeah, I sent that to him, and then I didn't hear anything, bro, for years. You know what I mean? But it's like, yeah, there are several other briefs and things that come through all along that time. Then eventually, I guess he sent that idea to Soundwave, who I don't know. It's like, I guess Soundwave and Jack Antonoff and Taylor were working close together, but it's like no one knew that. I didn't know that. And eventually, I guess, you know, they wrote a song over that beat and over that idea. Then, and of course, these, you know, at that level, they're not sending songs and files around. So
yeah,
they got nearer to like album completion mode. I think they asked, yo, who's on this? Where'd you get this beat from? You know what I mean? And Soundwave probably had to just fully disclose, like, oh yeah, my boy Jahaan sent this. And then Jahaan, you know, as he's sending over his paperwork and all that, they're like, did anyone else work on this? And he's like, oh yeah, you know what? Braxton sent me this, my boy. And so, you know what I mean? So then, like, yes, we were getting closer and closer to like, all right, let's get everybody's name down and like their points and percentage, all this stuff. Eventually, you know, Jahaan vouched for me and specifically was like, nah, put his name on there and give him this. And you know, he didn't have to do that. He literally could have been like, you know, I mean, I made this happen, you know, whatever. But he did that, you know what I'm saying? In the final hours, which is so awesome, bro.
Yeah.
And they put my name on the vinyl and gave me the credits and all that stuff. And that's just like, that's dope, you know? So that's pretty much what happened there, bro. It's wild. It's wild. It took years for it to, you know, come to fruition, but.
Well, now you don't have to get into particulars about this, but I'm a tad curious. Is it financially beneficial for you to be on that Taylor Swift song?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a nice perk, huh?
Definitely. Yeah, bro. Yes. It's great. Yeah, I mean, that's led to all types of stuff, bro. Like I got a publishing situation now over at Cobalt last year, and that they've been great. Yeah, we've been fostering that relationship, and that's been really, really cool. And then just led to me just doing more sessions and stuff, being able to produce and write and not just have to focus on my just playing, but it's been cool to stretch that muscle as far as like being able to produce songs and ideas, get able to play keys and guitar and write other songs, you know what I mean? So I do a lot more of that, honestly, day to day out here in LA.
Nice.
In between touring.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wanted to go back real quick. The night you reconnected with Winton, I think was the same night you met your wife, right? Nice. Yeah. And that was at a 90s theme party?
It's a 90s theme party that Jahaan, we snuck into thanks to him. He was like, Jahaan always knows the move. That's what it is, That's his gift. I don't know if you ever met him, but he's just such a funny guy, good dude, and it's all about just trying to make sure everyone else is having a good time. He's one of them, Yeah. So yeah, man, John was like best man at my wedding. He just knows. He knows the move. He's like, oh, bro, and then we're gonna hit this, the after party, and this. So, anyways, that night, I played that gig at the Atrium and Lincoln Center. It goes great. I mean, yeah, Winton's awesome. He's complimenting me, saying that blew my mind. And then I see Cornell West there that night, who used to know, was like friends with my dad. It was just one of those whoa, just everything was just kind of connected.
Stars align. Yeah.
Right. So at this point, I'm lit. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh man, that was awesome. That was like my first gig in the city freshman year.
Yeah.
And then, September of sophomore year. But anyways, yeah, my first proper Braxton Cook quartet gig. And then that night, Jahaan's like, yo, there's a move uptown. Because, Lincoln Center, 65th Street, there's a move uptown. Columbia's at 116. He's like, bro, 90s party. You down? I'm like, bro, I'm down. Let's go. We change out of our suits, you know what I'm saying? And, kill some time. Jahaan, at that time, he was always blasted Drake or something. So he's getting ready. I'm ready. I'm like, let's go, bro. And eventually, we make it uptown. We get to the Learner building where the 90s party's at. And then Jahaan is just like, okay, so this is only for Columbia students, but I got to move. So he just finessed his way in, somehow gets tickets or stamps or something, from someone that already went in, you know what I mean? Finessed it, came back out, hooked me up, gave me and Enrique tickets. We get in. And I mean, yeah, I think within the first 10 minutes, I think I see, I meet Shea on the dance floor. The funny thing, she twin, so that was wild. So I didn't obviously know that. So her and her twin sister, both there on the dance floor. I'm just like, oh, whoa, what's going on?
Well, hold on a second.
Yeah, exactly. That was hilarious. But yeah, within a few minutes, you're like, okay, so this is Shea and this is Chelsea. Y'all are completely your own people. And no, me and Shea just hit it off, and yeah.
Was she so your wife? She's got her PhD in political science from Princeton. She's a professor. To me,
she's right here. That's yeah.
To me, that sounds like a serious lady, and that seems like really intimidating to walk up to at a dance party.
I mean, we grew up together, man. We grew up. You know what I mean? We were 21 at the time, so
the intimidation wasn't there yet.
Very far from a doctor. Yeah. We were very far from the people we are now. You know what I mean? It was we're students. You know what I'm saying? Figuring it out, living in a dorm. You know what I mean? So no, I was like, hey, nice to meet you, blah blah blah, and I'd love to take you out, kind of thing. And we set it up. I was like, yeah, I think we went to a Chinese restaurant or something that first day, right up there on 116. It was cool, bro. We just connected, you know what I'm saying? And interestingly, we kind of have a similar familial background. Both of our parents are attorneys. I think her mom, practices law actually, but my dad is a law professor. But yeah, just come from similar backgrounds. I'm like, it's like she's like the West Coast version. I'm like the East Coast. You know what I mean?
I like it.
Yeah, there was just so much just synergy, you know what I'm saying, and things that just made sense.
I like it.
You know what I mean?
Well, I gotta ask, was there any inspiration from that night to make the song 90s that you have on the most recent album?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like, I mean, so many things. I mean, one, like even like the way she wears her hair, like is even like a short, like Nia Long. It reminded me of like Nia Long and like that kind of like 90s hairstyle that you would see in films, or like even like in Boomerang, like Halle Berry's look or whatever. Like, it was a thing, you know what I'm saying? And like, but that's just how she rocks it. You know what I'm saying? And that was, so yes, there was a lot of synergy in so many ways. Like to meet her at a 90s party, her vibe, the look, everything. And then like also the sound of that record just being inspired by like a lot of 90s R&B, you know what I'm saying? And that's the music we love, you know what I mean? Like still, like we love that era. And we connect on that too, you know? It is one of those things where like Shay is into some alt rock 70s stuff and like, you know what I mean? Like yeah, I do jazz and all that, but like the music we grew up listening to is similar. Yeah. Like, record. Yeah, I love making dishes. You know what I mean? There's that. It's like, yeah, we locked in.
Well, now I mean, you recently did the Butcher Brown remix with Joyce Rice on there, which sounds phenomenal. How did she come into the play there?
So I've known Joyce for a minute. When did I first meet? So I used to be signed to this label Fresh Selects in like 2016 that put out my first album Somewhere in Between, or rather I kind of produced it and made that record, and then with Drew Moore, and then I had like Fresh Selects essentially distributed. But at that time their roster was just like, it was stacked, you know what I mean? They had like Mind Design, Sir Inglewood Sir before he left and went to TDE, a bunch of just like John Bapp, a lot of really dope artists. And I think through Mind Design and Kiefer and that space, like Joyce would be featured on a lot of those records and was in that world. So I remember coming to a show in LA and it was like Swarvy's show, and I think Mind Design might have been performing, and Joyce popped out. Joyce popped out and like did a song. And I met her there, like at Echoplex or something, like years ago, 2017. And ever since, we've been cool. Just been like, friends, you know?
Nice.
So I reached out to her I had to add another element, like another feature. And I just felt like having like a woman on the track that just makes sense. It's a love song about the 90s. And then she just laced it, yo.
It feels very 90s, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's her vibe too. You know, she's coming out of that. You know, 90s, early 2000s, Aaliyah, like a lot of her vocal production and stuff, the way she does her harmonies, like is very much that's like in her sound too. So it made sense again on a lot of levels.
Yeah. Well, now the album as a whole, it came out, like I said, a little over a year ago. Is there new music in the works?
Oh, you know it, bro. You know it. So yes, I've got like a whole like LP really almost there. But what I'm thinking about doing is dropping the record through like maybe a series of EPs. And I got 4 tracks like right now that are like feeling really good, really strong, that I'm like gearing up to probably release this year. And then, you know, I probably will announce some more shows to kind of go with that in tandem, and, you know, hopefully do a little Europe run, maybe some US shows, and drop the project into this year. I don't have a date yet, but like probably some point Q4. I'll let you know.
I like it. Well, now you've got shows like we mentioned coming up in Florida. You got shows June 6th in Orlando. Mm-hmm. Just a quick question. Is Florida a good place to play? Do you like playing Florida?
I do. I mean, my show in Orlando last year was great. I had a good time. So not for me.
Nice.
And Miami's great. I used to go down to Miami to do things for like young arts a lot. Mm-hmm. And I've been to that. What is that? A couple schools. I've done a few massacres, like stuff at Frost, and like I don't know. It seems like it's a real vibrant scene, and like yeah. There's a lot of really great musicians and also great jazz educators coming out of like that area. So like I don't know.
Cannonball is a Florida
Here we
original.
go, bro. Yeah, the Cannonball. What am I talking about? Cannonball and that. So
original.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think Florida's great. I would love to hit that market more though, to be fair. Like I feel like I don't play Georgia, I don't play Florida, I don't hit that enough, and I'd like to build that out more.
There it is. Well, yeah, listeners, you got your opportunity coming up. Braxton, we are up against the break, man, but I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us today.
Of course. Thanks for having me, man. It's been great.
For sure. For sure. Listeners, make sure you check him out June 6th in Orlando. Stream all of his music anywhere on the old streaming services, not LimeWire. We don't do that anymore. Right now, let's take a listen to 90s, the Butcher Brown remix right here on the Doc G Show. And we are back here on the Doc G Show. Spinnaker Radio, WSKRLP 95.5 FM. You just heard Braxton Cook. Fantastic, Mike. Really big fan of Braxton, man. Mm-hmm. And did you see how he just shut down unsolicited advice?
Instant no. Yeah.
Instant no, man. Can't stand that. And I agree with. And that's coming from a guy, like I said, Julliard trained, decades on the saxophone, and he's not going up to somebody playing the saxophone and let me tell you, young man, what you're going to do. Not doing it. Not doing it.
No.
Respect, Mike. Respect. And I'll tell you, it's got to be pretty cool when your friend lets you know, oh, hey, by the way, I put you on a Taylor Swift song.
Say what?
I mean, you know, when you're sitting around and they go, oh, by the way, you're going to be a producer on a Taylor Swift song. You're going to be in the production credits for a Taylor Swift song.
Jeez.
And now the Taylor Swift song has, I don't know, I think it's like 400 million streams or something like that.
A bajillion. Yeah.
I mean, he got a big old poster there for 10 million sold. Not a poster, but a plaque for 10 million sold. Not bad.
Wild.
You know, just a super nice guy. Shout out to Braxton. If you haven't got a chance, make sure you listen to his music. Make sure you go to his show there coming up in Orlando next week. Very exciting. Mike, we need to move on to the fastest growing segment in the world.
Mike C, top 3.
Woo! Mike, you chose, originally you chose non-building skyscrapers. And then we switched it because you were like, hey, how about we go statues?
Statues.
And I was like, you know what? That seems more unique. And I was thinking, actually, Mike, you actually had some statues in another top 3 we did.
I did. Yeah, I had one.
Yeah. And
it was a destination. It was one of the destination
Yeah,
top
that's
3s.
right.
I was like, oh, I want to go check that out.
India. That's right. Now I remember.
Yep.
I couldn't remember what it was. I was like, I know there was one. I know it happened. Anyways, Mike, do you have any honorable mentions?
I do, but I might hit them after the top 3 if that's cool. Yeah, because I don't want to because there's a lot of good statues, but
okay,
there's some
we'll
top
wait
statues.
for our honorable mentions then after.
Yeah.
We'll do the honorable mentions after. So my number 3, Mike. Number 3, The Thinker.
The Thinker.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. That's a good statue. I didn't even think about that one. Thinker. I didn't think
Finished in 1904, Mike, by Auguste Rodin. Considered the father of modern sculpture. Very anatomically correct. I mean, it's supposed to represent philosophy, right? To of course, thinking, right? Very cool statue. I love it.
Yeah.
I have a mini one in my living room, actually.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. Little mini one for books. It's it's book holder. This is
like a book. Oh, okay.
This is my other. That's my dog one. It's
Is that Balto?
no, it's just I don't think so. I don't know. It's a dog that I've had literally ever since I can remember. I mean, I honestly had this when I was like 3 years old. So,
Hey, honorable mention, Balto statue.
there you go. There you go. Mike, you're number 3.
My number 3, Leo Kuhn and his sons.
Leo Kuhn?
Was that one you're...
No.
Yeah, Laocoon and his sons. Original statue, Roman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a nice one.
Ancient stuff, man. But look at how jacked that dude is, Doc G. As a fan of
Muscles,
the muscles and human body, man, that guy is freaking jacked, and his sons are jacked too. I don't know. I think that was one of my favorite aspects of the sculpture was, man, they got some great physiques.
Yeah, they were all about it. I mean, that was made in the that was made in the Renaissance, and they were all about getting the anatomy correct. It's like we talked about with old Leonardo da Vinci. I thought it was bigger when I looked at it, and then now looking at the dimensions, it's actually a fairly small statue. I mean, it's 6 feet by 5 feet. That's not too huge. I thought that thing was like, just looking at it immediately, I thought it was going to be this. But I guess they made it basically by like human size, essentially,
Oh, okay.
But anyway.
Oh, yeah, it's not, yeah. I didn't realize. I thought it was massive too. I thought it was like 15 feet tall or like, yeah.
It's fairly, it's impressive. I like it. Mike, my number 2, Abraham Lincoln.
Good statue, Doc G.
In the Lincoln Memorial.
Yeah.
Designed
That's
by
a good one.
Daniel Chester French, opened in 1922. It feels so heavy. Like when you and I mean by heavy, like, the feeling, like in a sense of the gravitas, You go in there and it's just like, he's solemnly thinking, and it's one of those things. You almost, even though it's a statue, you almost feel bad about talking in front of it. I don't know, like every time I go in there, which hasn't been a lot of times, but every time I go in there, it's just like you need to, set at the foot of Abraham. And he's just staring out there. He always looks like he's judging us how job we're doing for America.
Yeah, it does kind of look
just
like that.
he's just looking out there like, can't believe I died for you turds. Horrible. This is bad. But very impressive statue. Very impressive.
Yeah, it is.
Just a huge fan.
Good pick. Good number 2.
Mike, you're number 2.
Apennine Colossus in Tuscany.
In Italy, yes.
It was made in the 1580s.
It's just like coming out.
Jean
it's just
de
like
Boulogne.
It's like coming out of the ground there.
Yeah, it's like a personification of the mountain. It's like it's like it's beautiful.
It's like a Lord of the Rings thing.
Yeah, it's like they say it's emerging from the environment. And what's also cool is there's like hidden chambers inside of the statue.
Oh.
So there's like a fireplace in his head that the artist would go into and he'd fish from and start fires. And there's like it's pretty cool.
That's pretty
cool looking.
Pretty wild. And the estate of the Villa Dimidolf in Tuscany in Italy. It's nice, Mike. I like it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I like it. And it's been there since the 1580s.
Yeah, 1580s.
That's pretty wild. Well, and now that one's fairly big too. That one's like 35 feet tall. So
yeah, it's a big one. Yeah,
that one's pretty. That's pretty. I mean, and especially for that time, that had to take him some time to make. That's impressive. That's impressive.
That's beautiful.
I feel stupid now that I didn't have that one on my list. Number 1, Mike.
Yeah, what's your number 1, Doc G?
Michael Jordan statue, a.k.a. the Spirit,
And
in front of the United Center.
yeah.
Dedicated in 1994. And I just like to think about that, Mike. He came back for a three-peat after there was a statue outside of him in front of the building. So he came back, and for every single one of those championships, whoever he was getting ready to play, he was like, hey, take a look. You're playing in my effing building. That's my statue out there. Like, it's just like, I mean, what kind of confidence do you have when you're walking into the building and you're like, they made a statue of me? Like, it's crazy, man. And it's really a pilgrimage for us Michael Jordan fans, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
You got to get there.
Yeah, man. That's a good number 1.
What's your number 1, Mike?
My number 1, Doc G, it was in a top 3, but yeah, Statue of Unity, the world's tallest statue in India. I wish I had more of the info on this guy, but it's a pretty big statue.
Oh, I mean, it's insane.
It's the tallest.
It's almost 600 feet. It's almost 600 feet high, 589 feet or something like that. Like, I mean, it's literally over 4 of the Statue of Liberty. Like, it's crazy. Crazy. 597 feet, actually.
Yeah.
And the wild thing about it is, it's just sort of in the middle of nowhere. Like, it's just sticking out there beside the river. Like, and there's like, it's not like there's big city all around. Nah, it's just like forest and stuff. Like, it's just, it's wild, man. It's crazy.
It's pretty insane.
I guess that leads me to the old honorable mentions, Mike, because that is on my honorable mention. Statue of Unity would be there. It's just, I mean, it's a really cool statue. Mother of Russia statue is pretty rad too. It's pretty giant as well, and it's just sort of on a hill by itself. And it's to celebrate the
that's a good one,
Battle of Stalingrad there, and it's a cool one. And then of course I think you got to have on there Statue of David by Michelangelo.
Of course,
just
iconic,
iconic statue. And then lastly, Mike, you got to do it if you're American. Statue of Liberty, got to have it on there.
Statue of Liberty,
you know,
for sure.
So those are my honorable mentions, Mike. What do you got on your honorable mentions?
Man, Michael Jordan statue. What a great number 1. Anyways, the rape of Persephone.
The rape.
And the rape of Persephone. Yeah, and the reason why I like that statue is he's like just the way that the artist was able to, like, the guy is grabbing the lady's thigh, and the way he's able to make it look like it just, I don't know how to articulate this, but it's like he's grabbing flesh. But it's a statue.
Proserpina? Oh, there's another. There's the rape of Proserpina. Proserpina. I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, maybe I got it wrong. Yeah, on Wikipedia it says Persephone, but maybe that's, you know what? Yeah, no, that was a different. But yeah, the Proserpina, that was the one I was talking about. Yeah, the Proserpina.
I see. I see the hand. I see the hand on
cool.
on the thigh there, and you got the indentations of the hand.
Yeah,
and and I like her. You know, of course, she just smashing his face, just mushing his face. Oh God! Yeah, this is I didn't look, but what was the the motivation behind this? What made them?
No idea, Doc G. It's just a hot statue.
Just I mean,
it looks good.
And they've even got a zoom in of the thigh. Look at that. Man, that is some crazy
Good
detail. It's good.
Yeah.
That's nice. Anyways, Mike, what else you got?
Got two more. The Terracotta Army, China.
That's a very cool one.
That's cool. And then Christ the Redeemer in Brazil.
Oh yeah, I thought
cool.
about putting
That's a
that
cool
one on the on the honorable mentions. Because that one, I mean, that one's just huge, and it just looks over the whole city. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you always know it's one of those things. It's like the Statue of Liberty. Whenever they do something in Rio, you know when you're in Rio when they go by that statue, and you're like, oh, I got where we're at.
That's a fact.
I know.
Yep.
Like, it's a defining characteristic, Mike. I like it.
It is.
I like it. Mike, that was a good list.
Woohoo!
Good list.
Yeah, it was. That was a good one.
Surprised you didn't know that I was going to go with the Michael Jordan statue.
No, I didn't even consider it. But great statue.
I thought you were going to have the Shaquille O'Neal statue in yours, the slam dunk statue. I thought it was going to be on there.
Where is that statue at?
At the LA.
It's in LA.
Crypto.com arena or whatever it's called now.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Anyways, Mike, what is our topic for next week?
Let's do top 3 Robin Williams movies.
Okay. All right. Man,
Yeah.
that's you got some
easier one.
Got some good ones in there.
Yeah.
Got some good ones. I mean, well, not necessarily easier because then you got to choose on them.
Yeah, that's true. You gotta.
I can tell you without a doubt, listeners, this isn't going to be a giveaway, but I can tell you Mrs. Doubtfire is going to be there. It's going to be
For sure.
It's going to be there.
Yeah.
Okay. Other than that, that's all you get, listeners. That's going to be on my list. I'm sure it'll be on yours too. Not you, Mike. The listeners. It may be on yours too. Who knows? No spoilers. Mike, we're gonna move on. You are 1 for 1 for birthday suits. Like I said, I think
Let's go.
I think you can be 3 for 3 here. So number 2, born on May 29th, 1984 in Brooklyn, New York. Our birthday suit wearer loved basketball growing up, ended up going to Syracuse for 1 season and winning their only championship. Then he was drafted by the Denver Nuggets 3rd overall in 2003. In 2011, he went to the New York Knicks. He ended up playing 19 seasons in the NBA, the last being with the Los Angeles Lakers in 2022. Over his career, he has been a 10-time All-Star, a NBA scoring champion. He is the number 10 all-time scorer in the NBA. He has won 3 gold medals in the Olympics, and he was on the NBA 75th anniversary team. Name that birthday suit wearer.
Oh man, Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, come on, think about it.
Him. He was on the Knicks.
Let me help you zero in. He likes wearing a headband. Pretty much wore a headband most of his career.
Oh yeah, Carmelo.
There it
Anthony.
is. There it is. Carmelo Anthony is correct. Yeah. Turning 40. Turning the big 4-0 for Carmelo, man. Yeah. His son is balling, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I think his name's pronounced Keon Anthony. Yeah, he's getting it, man. He's I think he's a sophomore now, and he's already been recruited by Florida State and Syracuse and all these other schools, and they want him. Looks like a baller, looking good,
cool.
Man. Shout out to Carmelo. He looks like he's enjoying retirement. You know, unlike a lot of those basketball players that look like they do not enjoy it. Carmelo's out there on boats and having nice dinners and just he's living the good life, man. So,
yeah, he is.
Shout out to Carmelo. Mike, here we go. 3 for 3. Redemption time. Redemption. Born on May 29th, 1998 in Newark, Arkansas. I wanted to call it so bad Kansas. I was looking at it. I was like, Newark, come on, Arkansas. I don't know. I missed the AR. In case you were wondering, Mike, Newark, Arkansas has a population of 1,180. So pretty small Pretty small.
Yeah.
Both of our birthday suit wearers' parents played basketball at Arkansas State in college. In high school, our birthday suit wearer averaged 32.5 points a game and 8.8 rebounds and 5.1 assists a game. He scored 73 points in one game in high school.
Jeez.
He ended up going to Wichita State, but then transferred to Oklahoma. He declared for the 2021 draft, but he was drafted by the Pistons, 42nd overall, but he turned them down. And instead, he took a two-way contract with the Lakers. And he's been playing with the Lakers for the last 3 seasons. This past season, he played all 82 games, averaging 32.1 minutes a game and 15.9 points a game. And here's a big giveaway clue, Mike. He's the white guy in their starting lineup.
Yeah. Man. I might have to get half credit on this. What's the initials?
Come on, think about it, Mike. Think about it. I want you to get full credit.
I know I got one name stuck in my head, but it's definitely not the same guy.
Start listing some cities in Texas. His first name is a city in Texas.
Austin Reeves.
There it is.
Yes. Okay.
There it is. Full credit. I'm taking full credit.
Thank you.
There it is. Nicely done, Mike. Good redemption. Good redemption. Oh, man, the person that listens to the last birthday suit and that's it is going to be so happy this week. Oh, they're going to be like, oh, Mike did it. Oh,
let's
my
go.
God. Should I go back and listen to the other two? Nah, I just listened to the last one. That's it. Side note, Mike, just a couple of days ago, Austin Reeves tried out for the Korn Ferry Tour, which the Korn Ferry Tour is like basically the minor league of the PGA Tour. It's one step down from like the super professional golfers. And he shot a 76 in the round for 18 holes, which is really impressive. I mean, he was like a good golfer in high school and everything, but like hasn't been really practicing all. He basically just said he was sitting around bored at home, so he went and signed up for this tournament. It's crazy. 76,
wild,
man.
Yeah.
Super talented. Plus, I always find it hard. That guy's like 6'7". Like, people that tall look so weird with golf clubs in their hand because they're like basically bending down to their knees to like hit. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, do they have to get like longer clubs or how's that work?
Most of them, it doesn't seem like they do. They adjust to the smaller clubs. Like, there's this dude on the PGA Tour right now that's like some insane height of like 6'9" or something. And every time I've seen him hit it, it looks like he's playing with like a 5-year-old set of clubs. Like he's just like down there at the ground. So, I mean, you can definitely get clubs, adjusted, but it doesn't seem like they do most of the time. Maybe it's just because like it's like one of those things they get used to playing with it, and they're like, well, I'm not going to change now, you know.
I just would think that would hurt the back or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you have some wear and tear after a while, you know.
Yeah.
But anyways, Mike, we need to wrap it up for this week. I have been your host. Oh, wait, I'm a little bit earlier. Mike, we need to wrap it up for this week. We have some fantastic guests coming on the show. My goodness, next week, I'm very excited about this. We have a return guest. He's just fantastic. He is literally one of the world's greatest guitarists. If he wanted to give advice on guitaring, he could, Mike. Okay. He could come up. He could come up to you. I can confidently say he is one of the 1,000 best guitarists in the world, without a doubt. He is absolutely amazing. He just opened for the Rolling Stones.
Oh,
yeah, just opened for the Rolling Stones in Seattle, and Martin Guitars just made a custom guitar for him. None other than Joe Bonamassa will be back on the show. Can't wait to talk to Joe. We also have some other fantastic guests coming on. Can't remember them off the top of my head right now, but stay tuned. You'll hear them for sure. For now, we need to wrap it up. I have been your host, Doc G. With me, as always, the one, the only, Mikey, Maximus, the Verticus, Charette.
Always a pleasure, Doc G. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And until next week, zip it up and zip it out.
Zippity-doo-dah.